Alrighty. My name is Klucas. I'm with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. I was a watershed project manager. I have now transitioned away and doing another position at the MPCA, but I was asked by Heidi to come and present about the water quality framework, kind of kick that off and perhaps talk about some of the projects that I and how some of this works within it. I'm kind of going to lay it out. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history, background, and then go into the framework a little bit piece by piece and explain kind of what we see and what's been going on in those parts. A long time ago, I say, which many of you may know, which was also in 1972, we all know it's the Water Act. We know that the goal of that was to really make water clean, swimmable, and fishable. And it set a goal of 1983 as kind of that target for when that would happen. So, I don't know, maybe we were lucky it didn't happen, but others maybe we don't hear as much. But, it has processes, it's taken its time, and it just things that come about. As part of this is the early parts of the framework. As we know, things have been going on. Local water planning has been going on. Things like TMDLs have been happening for years. It's been going on since like the 80s, if not earlier. And like the Clean Water Act really set those targets and goals and what needed to be done to clean up water quality. TMDLs and setting standards and doing assessment and monitoring. So with all this has been going on for years. And then within the last, as part of many of you know in the room, and starting in 2008, back up, sorry. There we go. Starting in 2008 with the passage of the Clean Water Legacy Amendment, it's brought about change, and it brought in a lot of excess funds and dollars for the agencies and the state to use for cleaning up water quality and studying water quality. With us is part of the reason why we're here today. It dedicated nearly $90 million to clean water, so all gets partitioned out to different things within the agency. We all can use it as part of that, and it's done to protect not only surface water, but drinking water as well. And with this new money comes great responsibility. We're responsible with this money to meet and to show what we're doing with the money as part of being accountable, showing the state and staff, but the people who live in Minnesota that it's being used appropriately, otherwise it could come about that we're not going to get it anymore. And also, as part of that responsibility and as part of this money, we need to be coordinated among the agencies. They were working, I think before we were working coordinated, but there's kind of piece here and there. We were working together, but maybe not as unified. Now with this new framework, the team was developed between the agencies come about and say, how do we work together, and how can we use this money appropriately and go establish our goal of clean water. And of that team, some MPCA, Department of Ag, with their DNR, TSA, and DH, and their councilman who are here today. And it's clear, they come up with this goal of establishing clarifying roles of each agency, dividing those activities that would be identified throughout this process, and the products that would be sent to delivered as part of what these teams are working on. Thus, out of this whole group came what is called the Water Quality Framework. This is what the framework looks like. If any of you have hopefully seen this. Starts in this whole 10-year cycle based on the 10-year process, going around, reevaluating, and coming back. We kind of use my presentation to go around and show how things have been happening. And we have ongoing local monitoring, implementation, monitoring, and assessment, watershed resource characterization, restoration, comprehensive water planning, and back around. And this has kind of been what has been presented to the agencies and through staff to say, here's our goals, here's what we kind of establish our roles and what can be done in these processes. And then overall, the goal of it was that cleaner water would be comprehensive watershed management, ensuring groundwater is protected, and enhance collaboration and clarify these roles along with this. So I'm not sure, I'm assuming this is maybe a handout that was given out. Kind of lays out the roles that people are doing, and you can see it kind of lays out the process of how everybody is involved, all the state agencies. So if you don't have one, please make sure to pick one up. Kind of in each process, how each group is involved in the role they play and the products they provide. And with any process, engagement among citizen engagement is key, no matter what part of this we're in. We're doing this work as part of agencies. We need to make sure that the citizens are involved in what we're doing and understand what we're doing and have involvement and buy-in with it. So throughout this whole tenure process, it's important that we keep the local citizens, whether they be the citizens, the legislature, whomever, oversees with the money, they know that we're using the money appropriately and that they're buy-in, so hopefully we can get a next step. And as I said, I'm going to use this as kind of as I go through, you'll kind of see each one's bolded a little more than the others. That's kind of where I'm starting with. I'm starting right at the top with the ongoing local implementation. Ongoing implementation, we've been doing implementation for years. It's not like this is all new. Programs have been going on. Folks with Bowser have been getting dollars off of local citizens. Other agencies have been getting dollars from citizens. Agencies have been doing work to help improve local water quality. Civic engagement in some points has been going on for years. And the process didn't want to leave that up and say, this is a new start. It's been going on. We need to identify that this is something that we've been ongoing with for years and need to keep that moving. And then, even with that, there's this whole process that work still continues after we start these other processes like the TMDLs and the RABs. So that you keep that moving and it doesn't stop just because one process starts. It's always an ongoing process. Next is kind of the monitoring and assessment. So we kind of move from that implementation phase, part of what we start the 10-year cycle on, is this monitoring and assessment. It's this collaborative monitoring, largely led by the MPCA. We go out and we monitor, we laid out a plan to monitor the state throughout the 10-year process and set up a plan to come back every 10 years for major watersheds. Set at an 8-digit up level, as many of you may know. Collaborative, all the state agencies, along with local partners and volunteers, collect data, which has been going on for years too, but now this is more intensified monitoring. They go out, we collect monitoring, whether it be chemical data, fish data, for 2 years, or longer if available. We take that data, we run it through our assessment database, determine does it meet those water quality standards, those things that make it fishable, swimmable. And there we come up with our list that is it impaired or not impaired. If it's not in the standards, this is impaired. If it's not impaired, maybe that's something we look about. Is it high quality? Something we should look for protection. And all of this work, no matter all the information that's collected through this process from these agencies, is used to help inform the next process as well. It's a continuing cycle. Everything keeps feeding as we move through, which is very useful, and it helps keep a laid out format for everybody to understand. Moving on to the water resource characterization and problem investigation. This is kind of where we move to the technical side of it. With the MPCA, we kind of lean towards the HSPF model is what we've been using for the most part, and a lot of other models, just examples of, goes into it as land use, soil, climate data. As you see, there's a lot of information that goes out. We get output about current loads and information to help inform those next processes as well, whether it be things like Stressor ID or TMDL. Not for me Howell anymore.
Okay.
So, and then hopefully using that information to help run scenarios to figure out how do we achieve those water quality goals and targets. Am I still fine? Good? All right. Can you speak louder? Let me know. Not whining anymore. There. Better. All right. I'm used to moving around. This isn't. All right. So that's part of this next step too. As I said, we've got the assessment data. We move towards what needs to happen. If we find that we have biological impairments, that we're part of an EPA process called CAT, which is part of the CATIS process, which causes data analysis. Basically, we go in and figure out what's causing stress on the stream. Why are the biology not there? What's the elements of a healthy stream versus what conditions are stressing our fish? So they kind of do this analysis to determine what are we seeing, what's happening. Things like, too much sediment in the water. Are we seeing low dissolved oxygen? Temperature issues, definitely in cold water streams, and lack of habitat, as well as, too many nutrients from phosphorus and nitrogen. So we kind of bring all this information together. They do this look at the biology, you have to kind of monitor and determine what's happening there, and look at the stream health and saying, is this something that then can be a strategy for, the non-slave pollutant-driven strategy like the ones on the right, thus requiring some type of a TMDL. If it's not so much that, we can look at something else. Maybe it's just a strategy within the document to say, here's something to work on. Things like habitat, perch culverts, ideas like that kind of roll into what we can see. So not everything is clean cut to say this is the idea. A stressor ID, you're kind of taking a look at what do we view is happening and what do we think is happening. From that information, like I said, if there are impairments and along with the water bodies that aren't meeting our typical chemical parameters, we're required by the Clean Water Act to do TMDLs on those impaired waters. Reductions in we've developed these reductions and allocations. It's a numeric bowl of soup. You pull it all together, you say what's coming from where, and assign allocations to things like permitted sources, wastewater, MS4 communities, and things like non-point, for example, for agriculture, forestry, internal loading to some water bodies or sources themselves. We also then have the part of this whole process is a whole civic process. We've been doing this already for a few years now, before the whole RAPS process, but now we've kind of taken it from the one water body approach that the agency used to do before a lot of this was kicked off to the major watershed approach. Now we're addressing more impairments at a time, typically anywhere from maybe on average 7 to 30 impairments at a time, but writing one of these reports. These reports, which are required by the federal government, are then sent to EPA for review and comments, and also a public notice, and then they're final reviewed and approved by EPA as well. Once those are approved, they're locked into permits for requirements. Non-point is, of course, a voluntary approach, so we're making sure we have both partners in that whole civic engagement process involved with that process as well. The typical TMDLs that we've been mostly doing that we've done are typically are phosphorus, TSS, and E. coli, and bacteria, probably our big key ones that we've done. We've done some other things like temperature, chloride's another one coming out, and some other things as well. So kind of been and then that information, all that technical information that comes from all that group, then feeds into this restoration and protection strategy development, which is, the RAPS document. The RAPS it basically summarizes information and the conclusions from all those processes before, the monitoring and assessment, the stressor identification that was done, and the modeling as well, and the TMDLs, and kind of lays all that information out in one basic document. We try not to hopefully make them too long, but hopefully it's succinct enough for people and specific local implementers and folks to understand and use it as a key driver in what they're doing. It then lays out that action plan, those strategies that we talk about that need to be done to restore water quality, which is what the RAPS is about, is restoring and achieving those water quality targets, as well as kind of identifying areas for protection and prioritizing those. So it's working along with all the agencies, as I said, DNR, MPH, MPCA, Health, everybody's at the table working together on it, and local partners, which are key to ensure that we're getting strategies that seem to be functional and what they know as working in the watershed. These strategies are then put into a table that are developed, which is this long table that you need to do a picture of because it would have been long and lengthy, and then you do it a lot. So it's so small we wouldn't see it. But if you haven't seen a RAPS before, I encourage you to go take a look at a couple online and see what they look like. The strategies then are the whole RAPS document lays out, and the strategy table is part of what we as the agency have signed as part of the rule, which was in 2012. We were assigned by legislature to say, here's what the RAPS will include. So it really meets the statutory requirements of what we need to have in there. So this table really sets up as what those goals are, and then as an agency and as other groups, we're required to report on it as part of the Accountability Act and how we're meeting those goals every 2 years. So starting June of this year, July 1st of this year, we'll be producing the first report on how we're doing to achieve those targets and the strategies and goals for water quality and for RAPS. So all of this then feeds into next steps as well. And I want to provide an example of, the RAPS talks about targeting and prioritizing as well. And many of our groups we have, the TMDLs are using models like the HCF model and as well. And some of that we've kind of pulled all together and used different things and work with different groups to help target and prioritize. One example I have here is, this is one example of a watershed that I did in the St. Klucas watershed. We kind of sat down and said, using different formats and different information, we use phosphorus loading, IBIs, different human disturbance, and many different things, animal count, to really hone in and help show priority areas, maybe to focus work on. So kind of pulling all this together, this is one targeting map that we came up with for then prioritization. Another one that they did is some working with their cities. Another watershed district used their PondNet model to really focus in with their monitoring data to help prioritize and target sub-watershed areas as well. Another one used the trout stream, cold water reaches. They're really concerned about temperature, so they used a shading coefficient model to really target areas where there's limited shading for habitat. So that helped really feed into where they need to target some of their BOTs, so they're looking at habitat restoration for shading, promoting some of their activities for promoting revegetation of trees and things along the shoreline. And then some of the other watersheds are using a more targeted tool after the RAPS and the models have been done to really prioritize and target. This is one example that what the county is using to do this assessment to put BMPs on the ground and show what kind of reductions they can get to achieve those goals. And this is largely stuff that's taken after we provided the information. So here's priority areas you should focus on, and then they take this and really hone in on what they're doing. With the progress of those, thus far there's been 13 RAPs completed. About 527 or so TMDL groups since 25. We're waiting for the rest to get updated so we have more dates. We're doing them outstate, on major watershed level, highlighted different colors, which once these maps they should be available somehow. And in the metro area as well. Or we have, and a lot of it is we have other plans available that have been going on before. We have implementation plans from TMDL in the projects, but this is really keyed on to the RAPS and how they're meeting those milestones. Moving on from the RAPS, so we take the RAPS and this information that was gathered and kind of look at here's what it takes from water quality, and how does this feed into the next part of the process, which is a locally led effort along with volunteers leading them as well on the local water planning. We've been doing county water planning as we've shown. We've done watershed district planning in the metro area and outstate, and we are piloting. Others are working on the pilots for the One Water, One Plan. Kind of the whole cohesive effort to look at how to set priorities within those watersheds over the next 10 years to how they're going to meet water quality of those targets. And it's not just water quality in these plans, they're talking about different things. They're a comprehensive plan that looks at land use planning. So, some of their targets for rules and things like that. So it's laid out this whole scope of work that they plan to do. And they're taking the RAPS, which is very much this, and how do they focus it in on what they are able to do with their finding in time. And they really need to target it, and that's why they use maps and targeting, like the ones that they're showing you, to hopefully hone in on where they're going to apply for those grants, where they feel focused they can put their time and effort with the staff and resources they have. These plans are then approved by Bowser, the Bowser board. Once they've worked out, there's another collaborative agency group who works with this. Usually the folks who work from the beginning, from the implementation, the RAP side of it, all the way through to ensure that everybody's working cohesively and the same message is getting through the whole process. Based on information I found, these are the current pilots that are taking place across the state for the One Water, One Plan, and I believe they're currently out looking for more watersheds to move into the next phase. So we'll be hearing more about those and what's happening with that. But this is not to say there's not other planning happening. Like I said, metro water plans are still happening as part of their rules. This is an example of what One Watershed did from, they had the RAPS and they'd say, what are we able to do with our budget for the next 10 years with this plan. We have X number of dollars. What's the RAPs? What would it take to actually implement the RAPs and anything else? And the numbers came up with like $30 million. Now, well, our budget is nowhere near that, so what do we do with our $500,000 per year budget that we have? So they really laid out in this table, and looking at the priority sub-watersheds and where they want to do and what they want to focus on, and really put the dollar numbers down. So it's just one way that they've been doing that. And now coming back, and it comes all the way back to the end. After that planning, ongoing implementation's been happening, but now we're back again. They're implementing that plan that they've gotten approved from Bowser, putting those BMPs and hopefully getting grant dollars from the Clean Water Fund and other things to help implement what came out of this whole 10-year process, well, less than 10 years, but this whole planning process of what they've been doing to really target that implementation and hopefully move forward. And with that,